Hi, I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Made in Abyss, Season 1, Episode 4. I guess it's just the adventures of Rico and Reg from now on, right? I mean, we're about to go into the pit for the first time, and we're leaving. We're leaving the
We
gang.
said goodbye. We have now descended into darkness, and that is probably one of the best cliffhangers I've seen in a while of wanting to get into the next episode. Descending into darkness.
Yeah.
I want to know what the first thing they come across in that darkness is going to be. I'm honestly so excited.
It's interesting because on one hand the possibilities are endless, but on another hand we've been given a sort of like broad outline of at least the starting points of what to expect.
Yeah, what we might be coming across first.
Yeah, and which is pretty interesting because I think that Rico, along with us, are probably going to know a little bit at like right when we start descending, and then the further we go, Rico's going to know less and less.
More unknowns, which is really cool, honestly.
Yeah, I wonder if during this trip, hopefully to the bottom of the abyss, Rico is going to take it upon themselves to try to have a description notebook, much like her mother, and try to, catalog new creatures and maybe send that topside along with messages, to the to the friends.
To the friends.
The leader.
We definitely got a little bit of a glimpse of similarities between Rico and her mom with just the little journaling that she had done about Reg. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if she does a similar type of field guide and drawings to whatever she discovers that is similar to the documents that were sealed that we saw from her mother. But my main, I guess, question going into the next episodes, the rest of the series, is are we really not going to be on the surface anymore? Are we really not going to check in with these characters? Leader, Shiggy, Nat? Are we really not going to be seeing them again? Are we possibly going to see them if a letter does come up in a balloon and we get their reaction?
I think that their reaction or their screen presence is a big question mark to me, just like Uncle Habo's. I wonder what he's going to do upon hearing that Rico is going down. Is he going to take it upon himself that he's like, oh, I'm a black whistle, might go try to save my, niece, or
that's a great idea to bring up, that it's not like it would be crazy to think that Reg and Rico might run across a team that's down there.
Yeah. I also want Rico to get like a name, Liza the Annihilator. That's cool. What does Rico have?
Rico the crystal lenses.
I don't know.
Rico,
so it doesn't have the
repellent.
same,
I'm hoping
of
that
mind,
Rico
but
has something about her body that is special in terms of fighting off curse.
I mean, she was born down there.
She was born down there.
We can hope. That'd be a pretty short story if, she doesn't have anything special about her.
But also, how's she gonna
dies.
get all the way down there without having something special?
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Sweet.
I'm ready to be in the pit. They're definitely going to be keeping their eye out for news.
Yeah, I'm so nervous, to be honest.
Courage, wit, and curiosity.
We thought this might be Liza talking, right?
Now we know why the intro is majority Rico and Reg.
Yeah.
Now we have a little slice of life adventure anime.
Yeah. I can't get the pit out of my head now since before we started recording, from Parks and Rec. Yeah.
I'm sorry for singing it before getting into this episode.
The edge of the abyss. Aww, it's like a cage, to protect them.
Are they not connected to his body anymore? Oh.
God, can you imagine getting that, stuck in a knot? That would suck. 820 meters.
fact that it looks so much like they're on the surface.
Right? Whoa.
So it's the depths of the first layer that they're at.
It's a totally different world. Distortion in the force field. Food. Did you pack anything?
I'm gonna guess no. Did we? The Rico bombs, maybe.
Or fishing? I had pretty big expectations of how much of a world it would be down here, and this is exceeding all of them. I cannot believe this.
Actual survivalist knowledge. So we have knowledge of the food in the first layer.
Nice. Rico soup. So far, so good. Star compass. So cool. Do you think it's in its own, like, force field barrier thing?
Maybe. Incomprehensible principle. Is it useful? Flings. That's a waterfall.
It's gone? It's a good saying.
We can't just not have the star compass anymore. That which is from the abyss must return to it.
And she's from it?
Both of them.
Both of them? Oh!
Leader.
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 Copies. He came from her room.
You did not. Oh! I love him. Is this a note from him? He's giving you a head start. That is the cutest thing ever.
It's a race.
It's like, oh, here's some sealed document guides. Oh, but I'm gonna come get you, so you better hurry.
You can try.
Is that like a spine?
It looks like it.
They're in like a den of a monster, aren't they?
Oh! Look at how it's drawn.
I know. It's like textural because of
Oh, yeah. Silk fangs.
He likes the word irredeemable.
Yeah. Feeling a little sick?
Or tired, even. Second layer?
Looks like it. Whoa.
They're like windmills.
Forest of Temptation. See, okay. I'm a little more scared going into the Forest of Temptation. This feels very open and bright, you know?
Forest of Temptation doesn't really have the most welcoming
of names.
Of names.
What?
Memories?
Yeah. Is it like a tracking thing?
They've been spotted?
Whoa. cave raider.
It's like a bounty hunter.
God, Riko's going through it, huh?
Uncle Habo?
It looks like Uncle Habo. Whoa! God, he's so cool!
It totally is!
So experienced!
I bet they all had an inkling she was gonna do this when the documents were found.
Yeah.
Is he
Damn.
not gonna try to bring them back?
It's in the family. It runs in the family. If we ever meet Liza, that's the first thing she's gonna do. Okay.
To maybe help them? Get to the secret camp.
Okay. Oh, they're the ones who told him.
They're baiting him with that.
That's enough.
I like that he can move so fast.
Jesus Christ.
Did she want to do it by herself?
Damn. Is he that good? Do you think it's the final lesson? Oh. Tachikiri fever. Oh.
Stop! He was
No
No,
shot.
he wasn't. Do you think the letter was found with her body or something?
If it's not a body, it's their stories
Not a good
or
sign.
yeah, it's something.
It's probably how Leader felt.
The music in this show is absolutely incredible. Whoa. 4,000 years.
To capture updrafts. I imagine using a glider to like.
Yeah. The atmosphere here is totally different.
Did Leader specify just how far he'd go?
God, I love how they're drawn. You're right, it's all textural.
It's like paint on
Yeah.
top of the screen. It gives the fantastical feel.
Yeah.
Like otherworldly.
It's like a palette on glass. Yeah.
It's a good way to put it. I was not ready for that to be over.
Okay, that was Made in Abyss, Season 1, Episode 4. I'm upset. that episode's over.
Oh, okay, me too. I didn't know where you were going with that.
Yeah.
I am also upset that episode is over.
Man.
I wanted it to continue. I mean, I know it's early. I know it's like super early and we're only 4 episodes in, but I am in love. I'm in love.
With the show so far?
I am in love with it.
Yeah. I am also a big fan so far. I like the details a lot, and I really like I think my favorite thing about the show, believe it or not, because there's so many concepts I love, but my favorite thing so far is the soundtrack. I think it's insane. It's like, it sounds like, we watch a lot of shows that have great animation, and a lot of people's reaction to like great animation is like, oh, that budget's crazy, right? This show feels like the musical version of that. Like, I'm like, holy shit, this like budget for the soundtrack must be insane. Like, it sounds so fucking crazy.
The viewing experience feels so good because not only is it an art style that I have never seen before, that is unlike a lot of things that I've watched, there's also something very comforting about the art style and the palette being rather like desaturated to some extent. But then to have that addition in this episode of seeing what, as you go down further, what the creatures look like and the art style of the creatures. When you said it was almost like someone painted on top of like the glass screen, like you took the TV and you painted on top of the TV screen of the show the monster or creature, and there's something about it that's so fantastical and otherworldly and unknown feeling just about something, you know, the monsters even at the second layer. And I'm honestly in love with the entire feeling that's being created, from the music to the art style to the story and the lore. There's something about it that just feels there's this air of mystery and adventure and excitement with adventure, but also something of comfort with all of these visual and auditorial like things mixed together that create this comforting feeling, which I almost feel like there's this like dichotomy, like that those two things don't necessarily go together, like adventure and risk and going into a pit in an abyss where there are monsters that could kill you and eat you. We learn about a fever in this episode, but then everything else is lending to something that feels immersive and comfortable and almost cozy. And there's really interesting relationship happening between those elements.
Because it's like, okay, my first response to seeing kids go into an abyss that's really scary and a lot of people don't come out of is like, oh god, they're kids. I don't want them going into an abyss that they probably won't come out of. But then just if I take a second, I'm like, this is a different world than we live in. They have a complete different outlook on adventuring, and Riko herself has already achieved a lot in the few years that she's been able to go into any part of the abyss, any meters into the abyss, you know? And now with the help of Reg too, hey man, they're doing pretty fucking good.
In what universe would I ever be okay with 2 children, one being robotic, sure, going into this abyss and the adults just being like, yep,
this universe.
Just came to drop you off here. Yep. Here's some steamed buns.
I was worried.
I don't remember what type of food he gave her, but I think that was it.
I was really worried, but I think Uncle Habbo has like quelled all of my fears. Not the fact that there isn't any risk, or I'm well aware that I feel like there's gonna be tons of like really fucked up shit that might be coming in the future. From
emotional to like
to fear to like creatures, art styles, right? Like I'm aware of that, but like having other characters in the universe like Uncle Habbo be like, oh, this is what to expect from Liza's daughter. Like I don't know, it's really nice.
Because we're able to get across from those characters, Leader and Habbo, that it was going to happen at any time. It was something that was almost fated, that Riko would be returning, and that Riko's call to enter the abyss had been strong from literal birth. And because of not only you know, who is her parent, but also because of where she was born and that returning of we're all the Netherworld's children, as Habo said. So there's something unsettling but also comforting with that idea of like they knew they couldn't stop her because they knew that this was something she had to do, and this was like her future. This is, and if anyone can do it, wouldn't it be not only Liza's daughter, but someone who was born there and whose entire life they've had this desire to go there.
Yeah.
And then knowing they're with such an extreme, amazing young boy relic.
Yeah.
They might feel comfort in that.
So what do you think about the leader's words in terms of like going down and this being a test potentially, and you know, like everything we heard from Rico and then Reg's agreeing and then Habo's acknowledgement of the potential that could be the case?
I would think that my feelings about it being a test, or that being the message that leader's getting across to Rico, is more like that might be what the leader thinks Rico would want to hear from him the most. That like, oh, well, if you do this, I'll be proud of you and you deserve to be down there. Like, he might think that if I'm never going to see her again, or this is the last message I could send to her, wouldn't it be like a challenge, and I'm going to be proud of you, even if he's worried about her or he wants to stop her.
Yeah.
He might be thinking with this note that what will she take out of this, and will it make her feel like I support her and care for her?
Yeah. I like, because of how many times it was reiterated, my skepticism in general, I was like getting a little worried that because it was repeated so many times in this one episode, I was like, oh God, what if he didn't like meant something much more nonchalant of I'll depart at dawn to come capture you? Like, what if he thought that they were just like going to visit the outskirts of the hole and not actually dive in it, you know? But knowing that the leader had a very, I'd say a pretty good relationship with Liza, even though that all he knew was Liza outside of the pit, and then a seemingly great relationship with Uncle Habo, I definitely feel like the leader is smart and capable enough to be able to put something like this into the world in action. I also, one of my favorite parts of this episode is seeing Uncle Habo like jump cliff to cliff with his weighted rope and shit. Now I'm just picturing how good the leader is at, you know,
didn't Habo say something like the fact that leader was going to catch up to them?
Yeah.
And they better get going?
Yeah.
I wish we could see leader in action. I know that Rico's using, I guess, this past knowledge that, oh, they never chase after red whistles once they get to the second layer. And I'm like, well, you're talking about in general here, with maybe like sanctioned search parties.
Yeah.
But like leader and the specific relationship you have with leader, I don't know if that's necessarily like true, because that is just a rule of, I guess, the city.
Yeah. That
if a red whistle goes into the second layer, it's treated as suicide, and that the leader wouldn't necessarily go after her there. But that's all an assumption.
Yeah.
That he would treat her the same way they would treat any person that traveled outside of where they should be.
I'm so glad that Shiggy and Nat like felt like it's so in character for them in my mind that they would go be like, okay, Uncle Habo, you gotta make sure that they at least get this far. And then like they're like saying all the right trigger words to Uncle Habo, like, oh no, you like if you couldn't do it, that's whatever. But that's not what was important to Uncle Habo. It was the rarity of Reg that like immediately turned something on in his brain.
Which is like very accurate to a cave raider traveler that is a black whistle that goes that far down. It's that thrill of seeing something with your own eyes for the first time.
Well, and that's what my favorite part of this episode and then the show overarching is, because it's helping me create this like expectation of a character for Liza when I've never even met her. So in regards to now, we have Rico and Uncle Habo doing this. Their first, like, they can't help themselves. There's no other clouded thought in their mind when it comes to seeing something like Reg in person. Like, obviously they're doing shit to Reg, and Reg's like very like blushy, like what the fuck's happening?
Like, excuse you.
the thing that makes that so entertaining to me is the fact that these characters like Uncle Habo, they're not even considering how this could at all be weird to anybody else, because all that's on their mind is the infatuation with the unknown and seeing something that hasn't been like cataloged before, and their own like, their own like wonder getting the better of them.
Which is another reason why they would support Rico, is because they too have that same desire, and they can see that desire in her to get to the bottom, to discover the unknown, to find out more about her mom, to discover relics and bring them to the surface in the same fashion as her mom did with the unheard bell. Like, because they can relate to her and they can empathize with her, that's why they want her to succeed even more.
It's like this aspect of being unhinged and crazy a little bit. like that, like, oh
some
yeah.
screws are like,
definitely. Like there's no, like...
The self-preservation is off the table a little bit for this type of person with the activity they're
because
doing.
Like the risk, like there is no risk really in their mind. It's like, oh, the reward's potentially there, so I'm not even gonna like...
But if you did die
horse
or get
blinders,
sick,
you know? Yeah.
Like if you did die or get sick, I mean, you did it doing something you love. It's kind of that type of attitude.
It's an adventurer. I love it. Speaking of the unheard bell, we got a bit about Ozen the immovable.
Yes. I have lots of question marks. I mean, Habo was very vague with and very cryptic with what this person is like.
So last episode, I believe it was last episode, we got something like a splash page, like everybody who was on that expedition with Liza. And there was one person who was really big that looked like they were carrying something. And when they give a title like the immovable, that would be where my mind first jumps to, into like which character it could be from that. But the language that Uncle Habo was using, you're right. The unmovable sovereign, Ozen the immovable. A white whistle who is still active.
Which is probably a rarity.
After you were born in the depths of the abyss, she is the one who carried you to the surface along with Liza.
Almost makes you... It almost, from that image too, it almost looks like Ozen is the one maybe doing the brunt of the labor there with carrying Rico up, possibly.
Do you think that they would have resentment?
I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of places you could go with this kind of vague, cryptic idea of this person we might need to be wary of, because we know the personalities of people that are so willing to go down into the abyss. It's like, will they try to steal Reg for themselves and do experiments on him? Will they have resentment toward Rico? Is there emotional... were they in a fight with Liza over not bringing the bell back but bringing Rico? And did they have to pay some sort of punishment to that? I think it was like a foreign country that wanted something, and then Liza didn't bring it and then had to go back down. And maybe Ozen also had some... I mean, Ozen was a part of the team, and if you didn't bring the relics up, your team was at risk. Probably the funding for the team, the respect on the team's name. So there could be, I like the idea of possibly theorizing some resentment or issue with Rico's existence. That
tension being there just because instead of moving, the entire team's lives being, sacrificed seemingly, or they all died on that journey.
Maybe for nothing. Like, are you worth... Because it could almost be the type of person that's I'm going to challenge you. We get the idea here that Leader is challenging Rico, possibly. That's what Rico's taking it as. But this is a character who could also want to challenge Rico. Like, are you worth the fact that all of those people came down here to get something, and we ended up just bringing you up, and all of them died and perished with no reward of bringing what we were supposed to bring back up to the surface?
And more specifically, like, the immovable bell... If somebody, the unheard bell and the immovable person, like it might be like the only reason this person specifically was sent down was for that bell. They were the only person who could potentially even like bring it up themselves, and they are like, this expedition lost people, but are you, Rico, worth more than something like the unheard bell?
Are you worth more than all of those Black Whistle lives that were lost for that initial journey when Liza was pregnant with you.
Yeah. I don't know. It could be cool.
Do they think that Liza was a liability because she was down there pregnant? They might have some resentment toward Liza for being pregnant, going down there, and then creating this other reason, this issue, if you will, for being down there.
And also, like, I can't personally go into the details, but Rico might encounter some distressing things there.
Yes.
Like, that also makes me think just, like, a half a second of, okay, what is told about Liza? What is Ozen's last interaction with Liza? Mm-hmm. And I think what you were alluding to during the episode, like, is there some sort of potential confirmation that Ozen would think that Liza's dead?
Yeah.
You know?
I really like the idea that Liza might be a permanent question mark for us on, is she alive, is she not alive, until we get explicit confirmation at the end of the series or end of the season or something. I like the idea that maybe there is evidence that Ozen has, but maybe to Rico it's not like proof, complete proof.
It's interesting that, you know, it might not be complete proof, but if Ozen is the conveyor of that last message, then they could have withheld stuff themselves.
That's true.
But also, of course, whatever they have to say is going to have substantial weight to it if that was the last person we know that Liza interacted with.
Question here. So Habbo is the one that delivers this message. Habbo is met with Ozen. Habbo's the one that brought the sealed document up. Is it possible that with the idea of withholding information, that there is information that was withheld specifically from the government of the city of Orth or the relic keepers, and that some of these documents weren't brought up, and there are others that exist, but maybe the adventurers themselves, the seekers themselves, are keeping some things hidden.
Maybe. That could be interesting. Do you think that it was like a handoff of like the letters that Liza left to Ozen, or Ozen was the one who found like the balloon? Do you think that they were together at any point? Or do you think Liza like sent the whistle and the message to Ozen if Liza's presumably at the bottom?
It's a great question. Who and why was that message of meet me at the bottom ripped slightly? Is it that maybe she says something else specific and Ozen ripped off the specific part? I don't know. I feel like we're moving into a territory that there could be room for, since there's so many unknowns, for secrecy and for withholding of information, and that if they are the type of people that want to be the discoverers of the new things, and to that they would also maybe feel like they are the keepers of the information in the way that they can open the door whenever they want. They don't have to disclose everything because they are the keepers. They are the ones down there.
And they have that, like, oh, we're the ones who control what information is passed.
Because we have the idea you're not allowed to keep relics.
Yeah. Okay, I had a couple more things I wanted to talk about. One of them being, we got it around like 4 minutes in, about how they couldn't even see the top anymore. And then Reg had a line saying, so due to the distortion in the force field, we can't see the surface, huh? And then that boundary looks awfully bright. Is that distortion carrying the light downward? What do you what's your takeaway from that?
I just have giant question marks about
with like, I don't know
what that means. Like, is there a force field around the abyss and no one knows why?
Is it like,
but it's just like knowledge?
Is it something more natural, almost like an ozone layer of type
that's
thing?
Possible.
Like that's like, I don't know, funneling the light in? Is it like man-made? Is it like, I don't know, in the world? Am I stupid and just not understanding it? You know?
We could just be.
I had another thing that I wanted to talk about way later in the episode, around 20 minutes, which was the windmill, right? Mm-hmm. The wind-riding windmill.
I'm excited by that idea.
So I have so many questions. A long time ago, they used those to capture updrafts, apparently. I hear they've been around for more than 4,000 years. Wasn't the abyss itself only found 1,900 years ago? And
when were the bodies
at 2000.
2000.
So
I love this. I love it.
Well, so my question is, upon finding the abyss, did they like carbon date these windmills? Like, you know what I mean? Like, did they date these windmills after finding them? And it's just, and it also has like, okay, timeline wise, like in my head previously, what was built was that the abyss was created something like 2,000 years ago, and that incident that it was created corresponded and aligned with those people and their bodies in prayer, right? And that very well might be the case, but at least not the abyss being created anymore, because if these windmills existed, then I imagine the abyss was here long before 2,000 years ago.
And no one would truly know exactly how old it is if no one has gone to the bottom and lived to come back up and say what's at the bottom.
I'm like, and the fact that they're saying that they apparently were used to capture updrafts, right? My first thought would be, okay, they've like fallen, they're remnants from above the abyss before the abyss was created. But no, these are like specifically
built for traveling through
the abyss. I'm like, holy shit.
Like gliders or hot air balloons of sorts.
I imagine like what you're saying, like it's like, oh, easily traversing different layers of the abyss by going up and then drafting down, right?
It would be much quicker
vertical
than
travel. It's like an
down.
elevator, right?
Kind of like how Riko has her own personal elevator that immediately got her down 820 meters.
Yeah, I just think it's such a cool way to travel, potentially. God, can you imagine?
Can we, like, make those start working?
That's what I was about to say. Can you imagine if we use them at some point? You can't just give us
something like that and not show us it in action.
Nothing's better than seeing, like, moss and rust on something and then see it put back into commission. You see all that stuff start slowly breaking off.
But also, I'm in love with, like, traveling through the air like that, specifically from, like, multiple video games I've played, using that glider type, using the air currents. I love that. I love that whole situation.
We also were given, so I'm gonna look a little bit for this because I can't remember exactly when it was. But okay, while I'm looking for this, can you talk a little bit about the star compass, or what was the star compass?
Okay, I could talk about the star compass, but I also wanted to talk about something else. I feel like I have confirmation now. I was thinking that from the beginning that Leader had possibly seen the documents before Riko was allowed to see them, and that is why he told Reg to go with Riko to view the documents. And I feel like that has to be connected. I feel like Leader told Reg to go because Leader had already seen the documents, was already suspicious of the fact that Reg was a relic of a boy.
You're so right. That definitely adds to the idea that...
And how else would he have made copies of the stuff to give to them?
And Reg, like, even putting out into the world that, oh, it's possible the Leader even knew I was, like, a robot or something like that.
Which I remember thinking, it was, like, in the episode that he walked up to the orphanage and basically used Nat's story. As soon as we learned last episode that was Nat's story, almost verbatim, I was like, come on.
Also, okay, so he not only was he had time in the orphanage for the Leader to get, like, an actual feel on his personality and, like, to see that he wasn't malicious in any kind and that he could trust Reg with being, like, just a resident there. And then the confirmation of the notes being sent up by Liza, you have literally a depiction of what looks like Reg on the notes, and the Leader definitely had to read them. Of like
hands.
So it would have been like all added up perfect. Like tie it in a bow, you know?
And that excites me.
So the one thing I wanted to talk about was around 1146. And
sorry for not talking about the star compass.
It's fine. It's gone. Who cares? I wonder if Ozen's gonna get it. If he's gonna be like, it fell that deep.
What if it's not even significant? Like, what if she just named it that and it wasn't actually like a really great relic?
It's the key. It's this show's key. But here we have Reg say, so this is the second layer. If a red whistle goes down there, it's treated as suicide. And then it's like, where? And it's in blue font. So that means it has to be in the past. And it's a past memory, in my experience with anime. And then Reg's like, what was that? My own voice? Interesting. Like, why did it happen here?
I mean, when Regs lost their memories, and normally things, when you have a character that loses memories, seeing things that remind them or are reminiscent of that time in their past tends to jog their memory a little bit, where they have a little burst like that. So, but the where, that was him asking where.
So my understanding is like, okay, jog your memories about the second layer. It's probably something that occurred here.
Mm-hmm.
If he's saying something like where, obviously he would be trying to take, note of where his environment is, where he is currently. That makes me think that it was sudden. That makes me think that he was like thrown up here, or he was like teleported up here, and he's like, where am I?
Blasted up here, like,
yeah, exactly.
Like how he blasted that monster, but he like did it toward the ground and went.
Yeah, or he got like on a really big like windmill at the bottom, and it just sent him all the way to the top in a second.
He used his cloak as a glider.
Yeah, but that's what I guess take away from it. Like him having that memory as we go down, though, definitely is going to be interesting going forward. I imagine as we go further and further, we're going to have more memories pop up.
I love how vague just the question of where is in terms of like having it for theory fuel.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what did he see? What is he wondering about? What does where mean? Was he looking for something specific? Was he looking for a marker that told him where he was? Was he looking for Rico? We've theorized that maybe he was sent up for the purpose of helping Rico come down.
Maybe. I love looking at these creatures and how they're drawn. I think they're so interesting. It really does look like a palette knife or something. Like it's like
on top of the screen.
Yeah.
It's so good. I think that's one
it's
thing.
All 2D, right?
It looks like it.
Yeah.
It also like really makes the animation and the movement look really, really interesting and fun and different and noticeably different, which is really cool.
The shading's really cool on it too.
It almost reminds me of a video game. Like it's almost pixel art video game.
Well, you know what? It tells me that it's like, okay, I'm going to assume that this was added last, right, to the production side of things, like these creatures, because when they're adding their own rubble falling off the cliff and it's not affecting the
actual cliff side.
Yeah.
There is a background and this is on top. This is a layer on top.
Yeah. But this is like 2 layers on top, right? Because 1 layer on top's the character art, and then this is like removed of that, which is really interesting, and I don't think I've ever seen it done that way. And I think that because they're using something that resembles like some type of palette knife on glass, the shading's so good, dude. Look at like the detail, like the darker reds. So cool. I'm so excited to see more creatures.
I completely agree with that.
All right, that's all I have. You.
The vaccine for the fever, I'm a little worried with that being given to us, because why would we be given it and told about it if it's not something we're possibly going to be coming across and dealing with?
I mean, hey man, all things considered, it seems like Rico's doing a great job so far. Compared to what we saw Nat really struggling with just the mission that he was going on with Reg. Rico seems like she's handling things pretty well. I know that she was like
her stamina
exhausted,
was depleted, but like that's kind of understandable. I mean, if someone's hiking all day, they're gonna be tired.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.